Well, good morning. Welcome to the waiver system in Alaska with the Parent Learning Hour. This is a collaborative effort between the Stone Soup Group and the Fairbanks School District. And today we also have a guest speaker with Roberta Hovermeld coming and talking about the waiver system. She's the Developmental Disabilities Resource Connection Coordinator. Anna Zerfas is the Regional Parent Navigator, and my name is Terry Manning. I'm the Professional Development Coordinator for the Special Education Department with the school district. So we are happy to have you all here, especially on a Saturday morning when you could still be sleeping or otherwise doing something outside while it's still nice.
Yeah.
So we do appreciate your time and being here. And those of you who have experience, being able to call on your experience also will be very beneficial for the group. Next, please. Thank you. So our learning objectives for our hour today is to be talking about vocabulary that you might see, to talk about what are the waivers. Anna will give a brief history, and then we'll talk about the services, and then waivers in Alaska, and then the application process. Today it is a short and not in-depth look at all of this, but if you want to learn more, there are also DLC, the webinar series in the resource page that will give you more in-depth information. So please look at that resource series after we're done. Okay. So looking at the vocabulary, you know, just about any organization that you're with has acronyms. And I know here in the special education world, we're often in meetings and we're spewing those acronyms and people may not know what they are. So whether you're working with Stone Soup Group or the waiver or the school district, feel free to stop people and say, what are you talking about? Because that's really important. We just get so ingrained in using them that we forget that not everybody else uses them. So for the waiver system, we're looking at the vocabulary that's on the screen right now. Most of them are specific to the waiver system, but you'll see in the second column that there is ESER and IEP, and those are specific to the school district, and that might be information that you need for the waiver to be able to show need that and what's going on with the student on school-based setting.
So what are waivers? So in the state of Alaska, as in other states, we have the program that is called Medicaid, and it assists Alaskans, individuals and families with health care coverage. Usually they have low income. The Division of Public Assistance is responsible for determining eligibility. And you do have to have a level of Medicaid, and you have to have applied for Medicaid before you are able to get a waiver. Within Medicaid, there is a subsystem, and that's the waiver system. It is for people who have some kind of disability and need extra support or services through Medicaid. So an application for the waiver is filled out by the parent or guardian with the local DDRC coordinator like Roberta, or a care coordinator that is specifically certified for that kind of waiver. And then that is submitted to the state for approval. Now, Medicaid and the waivers are jointly funded by the state and federal governments. They come under the federal authority of Section 1915C of the Social Security Act. And it permits the states to waive certain Medicaid requirements in order to provide services in the home and community instead of institutions. This particular part of the law was written to try and get people out of institutions and to get them into the home and community environment. It gives participants a choice between being in an institution or being at home and in the community that they're at home with. It is governed by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and they oversee all states' participation, and they reimburse the state for expenses that we put out for. So that's where it comes to be jointly funded. So a little bit of history about not particularly the waivers, but Medicaid and getting people out of institutions. It began with the American with Disabilities Act. And so it was seen as a civil rights infringement for people to be locked away in an institution. And Congress described the isolation and segregation of individuals with disabilities as a serious and pervasive form of discrimination. And then there was a Supreme Court case. It was called the Olmstead Act. And the Olmstead Act came from a Supreme Court case, Olmstead versus LC, in which the court determined that unjustified segregation of people with disabilities constitutes discrimination. And then the laws came out of that so that the people who were institutionalized could finally come home and live in their home communities and get their care in their home communities by outside providers, even though they may have had or did have nursing facility levels of care.
Okay. So we're going to talk about the waivers in Alaska. So there are 5 of them that we will be talking about, and all of them require that the participant have a care coordinator. So keeping that in mind, also looking at the developmental disabilities eligibility, it's not established with the developmental disability diagnosis alone. So for our state, you need a child under 16 needs to show evidence of a 25% delay in at least 3 out of 5 functional assessment areas. And then for a student or a child over 16, they would be looking at the 25% delay in at least 3 out of 7 functional assessment areas. All of these also require documentation, and the challenge is sometimes we don't want to show the deficits of a person. We want to be able to show the strengths, which is really important. But when you are looking at eligibility criteria, it's important that you show what the need is. So the first one we're going to look at is the adults living independently. So this is for people who are 21 or older, who are experiencing a physical disability or have functional needs associated with aging. They have a nursing facility level of care, and they have to, again, go through a care coordinator. So these are for people who are physically disabled and in need of that living of nursing facility level of care. So this is these people may need adult living daycare, respite. They may need to have, they want to continue to live at home. And so this waiver would help that to happen, and it would provide supports to the caregiver. And then it also allows for modifications of the home to help promote independence. And that could include wheelchair ramps, the widening of doorways, and getting home delivered meals, and then any type of specialized equipment that the person may need. This is for back into the student world. This is for people who would like to remain at home. They may reside in an assisted living community, but they may not receive all of the benefits. This program does not apply to participants who reside in a nursing home. Next one, adults with physical and developmental disabilities. This is a home and community-based waiver for those who are 21 years of age or older, who experience autism, an intellectual disability, or a developmental disability with physical impairments. So this enables individuals who can't live independently to live at home or in an assisted living facility rather than going to a nursing home facility. So these services could include adult daycare, home modifications, respite care for the caregiver, and then home delivered meals. Again, a reminder that also there needs to be a care coordinator. And then we're looking at children with complex medical conditions. And this is for children and young adults from birth to 22. And so it's all the way through their 21st year that they require typically a nursing facility level of care. They require that care coordinator. And these individuals experience medical issues, and they're dependent on frequent life-saving treatments. So they need somebody who is able to take care of them. And these services typically would be in the nursing home, but they are in the home. There's no waiting list for this waiver. It's based on need. And these individuals would otherwise be in an acute care or a nursing facility.
Then we have the individual supports waiver. This is typically called the ISW waiver here in Alaska. And a good metaphor for this plan is kind of the bronze plan for people who have disabilities. It is for people of all ages who experience some level of developmental or intellectual disabilities. They must meet the intermediate care facility level of care. And the reason we kind of call this the bronze plan is because it does have an annual cap on services. So the care is usually either rationed or prioritized to get the most important services first. And for the ISW waiver, you do need to apply for it with a DDRC coordinator in the state of Alaska. And we do have DDRC coordinators all over the state, and Roberta is one of them here at SSG. And then the next waiver is called the Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Waiver, the IDD waiver. This one is considered the gold plan. It is usually for people of all ages who also experience developmental or intellectual disabilities. It does require that intermediate care facility level of care. It does have a long wait list, and it is based on a score. After all of your paperwork and documentation is turned in, it goes to the state and is reviewed, and you are given a score. Only 50 people are chosen from the wait list per year, and you do have to apply with a DDRC coordinator for this waiver. It does not have an annual cap on benefits, and it is the best plan for people with long-term substantial disability. So usually lifelong, never going to progress and need a good level of care for most of their lives is a good plan. Now, the services that these waivers cover are kind of an umbrella under Medicaid. And so you can see from the umbrella that we have different levels of services for different waivers. And the particular services depend on the particular waiver. A good side-by-side visual of the different services and which waiver they can apply to is here, and it outlines everything from nursing oversight to meals to private duty nursing services to group homes. And it gives, this particular graphic gives a really good idea of what, level of care, what services are covered under what waivers, so that you can, kind of figure out where your particular person might fit or need, and then apply for that waiver. And the thing to be aware of is that when you do the initial application for an IDD or an ISW waiver, you can get the ISW waiver and still be on the wait list for the IDD waiver, which is really important, because that way you can still get services under the ISW waiver while you're waiting for approval or to be pulled for the IDD waiver. And now Roberta is going to talk a little bit about the application process, specifically for the ISW and IDD waivers.
So the first step in this process is Medicaid/TEFRA. And so TEFRA is a Medicaid program that is specifically for children with disabilities whose parents make too much money or over a certain income limit, and to qualify for regular Medicaid. The child needs to meet the medical, developmental, or psychiatric condition that fits the supplemental security income definition of disability. Only the child's personal income and resources are used when determining eligibility. So not all children, though, who are determined disabled or have high medical costs qualify for this program. So there still are other restrictions and so forth. The age limit for TEFRA Medicaid is set at 19 years old. And however, it's expected that at age 18, a person who is a TEFRA recipient, a child, that their parents should apply for supplemental security income, and then for that child, and then move to adult public assistance and related Medicaid prior to turning 19 years old. So it's a process that people have to keep in mind. There are time constraints with it. Denali Kid Care and TEFRA Medicaid, they provide the same Medicaid health care coverage for a child. It's just two different ways to get it for a child, but it's the same health care coverage. A TEFRA care coordinator can assist with the initial process of applying for TEFRA, as well as the annual application that needs to take place. Statewide offices, they're usually listed in the back of the Medicaid recipient handbook. And that is something that usually Department of Public Assistance will give individuals. If you do not receive it, there is a website that you can go to and download it. It's an invaluable resource and tool to use, and I use it a lot for different things, and I really encourage parents to use it as well, because it tells you what you can and cannot do with Medicaid, and then it opens your eyes to some of that process that's needed. This is how you ask for this to come about. This is how, this is what you can do with Medicaid and what you can't. And so it can help filter out some frustration. There also is an 800 number for the Alaska Medicaid recipient information. And it's 1-800-770-5650, and please press option 2. And then I did want to note that even if someone already has benefits through their native corporation and they're looking to apply towards waiver, they still need to have Medicaid. That Medicaid needs to be in place when they are being pulled for a waiver.
Roberta?
Yes.
What's the link to the resource book that you were talking about?
Sure. It is, whenever everybody's ready, it's http //DHSS.alaska.gov/DHCS/documents/ PDF / recipient, so RECIPIENT, and then hyphen handbook, and then .PDF. And if you'd like to have that address or the phone number, I can give that to Anna to send out, or Anna, was that being part of the resources?
I will send it out with that.
Okay, great. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. And let's see here. Oh, thank you, Terry. I appreciate that. Okay, great. So the next part of this is the disability eligibility application. So it said on the slide, to apply for the IDD or ISW waiver, a DDRC navigator, such as myself, and I work with a team of wonderful navigators as well, and they're there to help, can assist in completing the DD eligibility application. They will assist in gathering information that shows substantial functional limitations prior to the age of 22 in 3 or more of the following areas of major life activity. And those areas are self-care. There is also receptive and expressive language, communication, sorry. There's also learning, mobility, self-direction, capacity for independent living, and economic self-sufficiency. So for individuals under age 16, you only have to address the first 5 areas, which would be self-care, expressive and receptive language, learning, mobility, and self-direction. The other 2 areas, capacity for independent living and capacity for economic sufficiency, are additional for individuals 16 years and older. Something to consider, though, with the application is that DD eligibility is not established by a diagnosis alone. So the person's ability to or inability to function due to limitations caused by the developmental disability is the major criteria for determining whether or not an individual is developmentally disabled. So as long as the impairment to functioning occurred before age 22. Individuals who experience such disabilities as sensory impairments, deafness and blindness, will not be determined to experience a DD, a developmental disability, solely based on their diagnosis. So people also who experience cognitive impairment, epilepsy, cerebral palsy, and autism will not qualify as developmental disability based on their diagnosis alone. So in all these cases, the individual would need to demonstrate an inability to function the same level as their peers to qualify as developmentally disabled. So there are some layers with that. So just because somebody has one diagnosis is not just going to automatically qualify them. You still have to go through the process. So it's not, oh, excuse me, yes.
Is that why the information from the IEP is so important with the documentation?
Yes, that's it. Yes, and that's coming right next. That is real. But actually, I want to clarify with that in just 1 second. If you could just hold that one thought. So as Terry just mentioned about supporting documentation, it must support each of those functional limitations on the eligibility determination application is addressing. So all documentation has to be signed and should be current within 36 months. Or 3 years or less. So documentation can include from your physician, speech language paths, OT, PT, behavioral health, also, and those kind of documentation. It would not be the day-to-day case notes. It would just be standardized evaluations or testings. So sometimes for like speech language paths or PTs or OTs, or they would have a POT or a plan of treatment. That's what SDS Senior and Disability Services is looking for. They're not looking for the day-to-day notes, which is great information, but they need to see standardized testing. The other thing is, let's see, reports from early intervention, like the infant learning program with the individualized family support plan, because it has all the assessments that were done. And also for ESERs and IEPs. And ESERs, Terry, could you please say that? Because I get that acronym messed up. So could you please say what ESERs are?
So it's an eligibility report and an evaluation summary.
Thank-
Evaluation summary, eligibility report, but ESER is definitely the best way to do it.
Yes.
And so with an ESER, that's what a child will get when they first have initial testing for eligibility for special education, and then every 3 years after. And then that IEP, that individualized education plan, that's a plan that carries out for their goals and what they're looking to work through during the year. The IEP is important to have, but the most important one is the ESER, because the ESER does all the testing. So that's a very, and then it has from all the different domains that they're looking at for special ed. You can, there are genetic testings that would be great to have. There are also, if individuals have done testings for FASD, for fetal alcohol syndrome, that would also be very important to have. And also neuropsychological assessments or evaluations. That is probably a really key piece as well, because it will show some further testing. It will take in for cognitive, it will take in some other skills. So that's an important piece to have. Another thing is, if developmental disability eligibility is approved, Senior and Disability Services will send a letter of eligibility, which may include a provisional approval. And I want to explain that. So that's which the applicant is approved until a certain age. This usually happens with very young children. So let's say somebody got it as a baby, or they got it at 3 years old or 4 years old. They may only have eligibility to age 7, and then age 7, it has to be redetermined again. Upon reaching that age, the recipient must submit a new eligibility determination app and new documentation. They cannot, you cannot just like reapply with your old information. They want new and fresh information. Also there are 2 attachments that go with the application and that Senior and Disability Services have. And I really encourage, you are more than welcome to ask the DDRC navigators for a copy of that application form so that you can see exactly what it has on there. And there is information on the alaska.gov website. I encourage all parents, please go and take a look. It's not like secret information. It's just, really, they just don't make it easy to navigate. That's what it is. And so, they're not trying to be evil. They're good people. It's just that sometimes it's within it. It touches so many other subjects that it's within so many like different categories that sometimes it's a little hard to navigate the site. That's all it is. But I really encourage people, please know your rights, know what is available. And if you can't find it, give us a call and we'll help. So there are 2 attachments for that application. One is general description of life area assessed for functional ability, and then B, supporting documentation. It gives a little bit more depth of what they're looking for. If you're like, well, what does that include for self-care? What does it look like for the learning piece? What does it look like for self-direction? And another thing is, sometimes at different points in someone's life, we have a lot going on and we can't keep everything in the front of our brain. So sometimes somebody may have thought, you know, this sounds a little familiar. Maybe I did apply for something like that for my child. Give us a call. We can check on that. You can call your DDRC navigator at Stone Soup Group, or you're welcome to call the Senior and Disabilities Waiver Unit at 907-269-3666, and you can talk with them and they will let you know if you're current or if you need to apply. But I do want to let you know that nobody is actually in the offices over there. They're all working remotely, so you have to leave a message, but they will get back to you. So, let's see. Oh, and one other key piece. Please know that if you do not provide enough supporting documentation, that the application could possibly be denied. What happens is they'll send a letter and say, oh, we're here to inform you that your application was denied, the eligibility was denied because there wasn't enough supporting documentation. Always read the correspondence. If they do send that, you have 30 days to respond and give more information without starting the process over. So it's kind of like an appeal. So you can do that. So I just want to put that out to parents, to individuals.
I just wanted to say that the state's pretty good about that. That's happened to me a couple times where I've gotten a letter and they've said, oh, currently it's going to be denied, right? But your application, but we do need, because we need X and X within 30 days. And they've been really good about it, So I'm like, okay, yeah. So just get it to them.
Thank you. I appreciate you telling. It's always great to have real life examples there, and that really is good. And they are, they try, and there's some questions they can't answer for you, but that's where you could always call the somebody like myself or my team members, and we could help you with that process. Sometimes it's but what do you mean by sending this piece of information? And then you go to your doctor, and then your doctor's administrative people, they send instead all the case notes, and you're like, oh no, this is not what I need. I need it. Right. So sometimes learning what the specific terms are to ask for sometimes could be really helpful too. So, let's see. So, and let's go. Oh, just one quick thing I wanted to add. When someone is going to see their doctor or their therapist or somebody who's going to give them the evaluations and assessments, share with them that for your child, you are looking to pursue DD eligibility. And that will help them know what information to give you as well. And then if they know you're working with that, there may be some other things they can include as well. So I just wanted to put that. Thank you. Okay, step 3, yay! So now we have our DD eligibility, yay! So okay, so completing the registry and review. So sometimes it's referred to as DDRR. And so once the DDRR form has been submitted, it will be scored and placed on the Developmental Disabilities Registry, also known as the wait list. And the DDRR score is calculated according to the responses provided. The highest scores are drawn from the registry as funds become available. If the individual would like to remain on the DD registry, the individual must submit an updated DDRR form every year. So having that approved DD eligibility is the first step in the process for individuals who are have developmental disability eligibility and would like to be considered for the ISW waiver and or the long-term waiver. For each of these situations, it's required to update the individual's DDRR, that Developmental Disabilities Registry and Review Form, to keep that IDD registry accurate and provide eligible individuals with services as soon as possible. The DDRR should be updated annually and can be updated at any time, such as the participant situation changing, which can be dramatically affected their overall score. So the review and registry is submitted electronically to SDS, Senior and Disability Services, and is given a score based on the information provided. That's really key. So this form has a series of questions that it goes through, and you have to provide the information. You can't just think, oh, they already know that my child has this. Oh, they already know I have this, or my sibling, whoever it is. They don't. They're not going by it. Basically, they're going by this form and whatever information you put on. So if you leave out that the individual does self-harm to themselves and they, all these other things, they're not going to score it. And if you just say, oh, they're fine, then you're going to get a very low score, possibly 0, and it's not going to move you on the wait list. It won't take you off the wait list. It just won't move you up. And then actually another thing is that information is how they determine the level of challenges and severity that somebody needs services. So you're telling them, this is why this individual needs services. So just think of it as that. If you're not going to ask, they're not going to give it. So think about your answers. And when you're doing it, think about it on somebody's, you probably heard before, on their worst day. But, we all have bad days, myself included, okay? And sometimes coffee isn't going to be enough. But the thing is that, because, and then you got to realize what somebody's typical is. For them, that I talk to people and they're like, oh, yeah. I say, well, how does your day go? And they're like, oh, it's great. Yeah, we have family time. They go to sleep. I'm like, really? Well, what does that look like? And then they'll start sharing. And I'm like, okay. So actually what I just heard, you got up like 4 times during the night, and then you had to make sure the door was locked, and then you had to make sure then your regular check-in to do a sweep of the whole house to make sure the doors and windows are locked, or make sure that they weren't getting a kitchen, whatever it was. Okay. They're like, oh, wow, you say it like that. And it's like, well, yeah, but that's their typical, what you get used to becomes your typical. So you kind of have to help bring some questions out and some answers to help somebody be able to get that information out on the review and registry. So updating it is really important. Please do it every year. And the thing is, updating the review and registry is important as it keeps you active on the wait list. And extensive inactivity could result in having to reapply for DD eligibility and start the process all over. Nobody wants to do that, right? So as a DDRC navigator coordinator, I may assist individuals, families, guardians, caseworkers, etc., in filling out that DDRR, and then we can submit it for them. Is there any other information somebody wanted to know about the review and registry, that maybe if they wanted more detailed information or something?
So Roberta, if you're working with a family, then you would remind them that it needs to be updated, when it needs to be updated annually, or is it up to the family? How does that work?
Well, as with everything, we're always responsible for ourselves, correct? But if somebody did say, Roberta, could you maybe, put it on your calendar, maybe, send me a tickler or something like that about it, I could possibly do it. But what if I'm not there at that job anymore? And so it's not an automated thing that comes out. Sometimes what happens is Senior and Disability Services sends this letter, you have not sent anything in, get it in now. And people are like, oh my God. They say it a lot nicer than that, but that's really what they're saying. And so the thing is that then people get worried because this whole bunch of letters came out, and then at Stone Soup Group, we get flooded with everybody calling in, I've got to do this now. Now, yes, the state, they kind of, have it in their system to, send out a letter if they haven't received something. So I always suggest, if you receive that and you're not able to get your review and registry back in time to them, give them a call and tell them, I'm in the process of working with the DDRC navigator, and it may be late, but it will be in. Please put it in the case notes, and they will do that. So I'm sorry, back to your question. We do not have a reminder. If we're, some of my coworkers, they've been there several years, so they will remind people, maybe give a phone call to somebody if they've asked, but it's not a, something that we have, a standardized thing that we do.
Thank you.
So, oh, no problem. So let's see. And then also at that point, if you're working with a care coordinator, that's something that they can also do as a reminder as well. And so you kind of probably will get reminders from several different sources. Parents will have it, but you know, we all have busy lives and we have busy families and things that go on. So sometimes that stuff may not always be at the front of our mind. So, and I guess on to the next slide. Okay, great. So finding a care coordinator, that's exciting. Okay, so with that, and it can be, because there's a lot of great, wonderful care coordinators out there who want to help. And so if chosen to receive the ISW or IDD waiver, you will need to choose a care coordinator. And they will assist in completing your plan of care and submitting your application to various waiver services based on your need. And if you're having trouble finding a care coordinator, you can call Senior and Disability Services at 907-269-3666. Or you're more than welcome to call with the DDRC navigators, and we can help with that as well. Regardless of which Medicaid program you participate in, it's important to keep your benefits current and complete. Oh, hold on a second. Let's see here. And complete your renewals applications. And if you're found eligible to continue receiving benefits, you need to make sure that you always are on top of with Medicaid coverage. Make sure you put in for your annual application all the time. Make sure that if you have a TEFRA care coordinator, that also annual application is going through. And then as well as with your care coordinator, they can help with some of that as well, keeping as good reminder. And then the other thing is with a care coordinator, being able to find them. We cannot at Stone Soup Group give oh, you need to go with Carol because Carol's the only one. I only refer to Carol. Well, no, sorry, we can't do that because that's conflict of interest and that would not be really nice. But we can provide a list of care coordinators. It is a giant list that's on the state website. But the thing is, though, not everybody has an open schedule. So sometimes you may give us a call and say, hey, I don't know where to start. There's like 5 million names here. And so we may say, well, I've heard these care coordinators, here's a list of about 10 of them or so that have openings right now. And there is a difference between a TEFRA care coordinator and a regular care coordinator, 2 separate care coordination. So you need to be mindful of that. So with your care coordinator, they can help you with all of gathering information. They can also help be an excellent advocate. And you can always get an updated list from the state, like I said, or you're welcome to ask us at Stone Soup Group. And let's see, I wanted, with care coordinators, I just wanted to let you know that if you are not happy with your care coordinator, you are always welcome to give them notice, and they can give a family notice as well that this relationship's not working. And it's not just because, you know, they did one thing wrong or something. It's just like, it's not working, and you can go find another care coordinator. So it's available on both sides. So I wanted to let you know that. But if any more information somebody would need about care coordination or wanted to know, or nope, okay, that's fine. And the same for TEFRA care coordination. Sometimes their caseload can get crowded and they may not have room for somebody. So sometimes we kind of keep an ear to the ground of who has availability. We are not making personal recommendations. We are just letting you know what is available and who has an open caseload. Okay, so I just want to let you know about that, because sometimes it may be on the care coordinators network. They have a great Facebook page, and they also have their great network of care coordinators, and they may put a shout out, hey, does anybody in Glen Allen area who covers Glen Allen have an available opening for a family? And sometimes we may give that to the care coordination, and they'll let us know, like, oh, somebody responded, these people, please pass on the information. So we try to collaborate as much as possible with other agencies. So. And any other questions or? Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Roberta.
Oh, thank you all.
Roberta, on behalf of Anna and myself, we definitely thank you for coming this morning to share your knowledge of the waiver system and being a support to families who need it.
Oh, thank you. And I couldn't do my job without all of you. All
We
wonderful.
really appreciate your help today.
Oh, thank you.